Hey guys, today we are doing my first ever Ask the Author. Yesterday I went out and posted on my Facebook page and said you guys could ask me anything you wanted and I would answer your questions. And thankfully no one asked me anything crazy. And I actually went through, tallied everything up, and have broken it into two chunks. So today's Ask the Author, the first segment, is more about me as a person and a little bit about the act of actually being an author versus the writing process. So I'm going to be looking at my questions and I will answer you as I go. But first question is, what are the books that got me into reading and the books that made me want to write? So I don't know if I can actually tell you which books got me into reading because I can't honestly remember a time where I didn't want to read. I am a giant nerdball who is entirely uncoordinated. If you throw something at me, I promise you I will duck. I will never try to catch it. So I knew very early that my tendency toward running into things and tripping over my own feet meant I was likely not going to be good at sports. And I was always somewhere with my nose buried in a book. It didn't matter if it was vacation or it was lunch hour or whatever, I would always really rather be reading. And that comes, honestly, my mom is the same way. We have a whole room in our house that is a library and dedicated to all things wonderful and bookish. So there is no one book that I can remember. The book that made me want to write is actually Rachel Higginson and her Star-Crossed series. While I loved reading, was never someone who thought that I was going to write a book. It was actually never an aspiration of mine. I never wanted to be an author. All I knew was that I wanted to read everybody else's stories. And then I read and reread Rachel's Star-Crossed series, and one day I just had finished the series again, and I was sitting there thinking, what if this would have happened? Or what if she would have had those powers? Or what if it would have gone here instead of there? And suddenly the first chapter of Bound by Duty started writing itself in my head. And there really wasn't a lot for me to do at that point. It opened up doors that I didn't even know existed in my head. And I couldn't not be an author anymore. So next question is, who are my favorite authors, or what are my favorite books? That is also another really hard question for me because I read lots of different genres and I read lots of different authors and I like to experiment with a lot of authors. But I would say that lately my favorite authors, well, actually I'll back up. My favorite authors of all time, in a romance setting, I love Nora Roberts. I grew up reading her books once my mom would let me, and I just can't turn them down. From a suspense angle, I really enjoy Lisa Jackson or Patricia Cornwell. Patricia Cornwell writes forensic medical science-based pieces, and I really love those. What else is downstairs on my bookshelf? I own all of the Sookie Stackhouse books because I've always been a vampire, witches, magic, paranormal person. Overall favorite books that I come back to a lot. I love to read Pride and Prejudice. It's just a classic, and it's so well written, and the characters are so well developed, and it's aspirational, I guess, as far as what I hope to be able to achieve as far as people connecting to my words. I also really love and go back to The Time Traveler's Wife. That's one that I really, really enjoy. There are a few different Nora Roberts series that I'll always bounce back to if I know I want to read something and I don't know what. Of course, the names are escaping me right now. But those are some of my favorites. Lately, I will say, I've been really, really captivated by Jessica Park's work. I think that she writes in a way that people don't expect. She doesn't write for the lowest common denominator. She makes you look up the words that she uses because you don't always know what she's saying, and she gives her characters quirks and differences that everyone can relate to, and I think she tells really real, raw, vivid stories that I really respect and I really love. Let's see, as an author, what genres do I want to experiment with? Obviously, you guys know I love to write fantasy. I'm always going to love to write fantasy, but I really do want to experiment in the contemporary romance realm. I actually have a couple ideas for that I'm kind of tinkering with, and hopefully we'll get some time when I finish up with Bound to look into that and see if I want to make a little bit of that transition. If I want to stay doing it under my name, if I want a pen name so that I don't confuse people between genre hopping, we'll see how it goes. But I know that I definitely would love to write contemporary romance. Let's see here. What are the most frustrating / enjoyable things about being an author? The most enjoyable thing, that's really easy. It's you guys. It's the messages, it's the reviews, it's the engagement, the photos, comments, emails, getting to talk to people who attach to my work and love my stories and love my characters and laugh and cry with me and with them. That is the absolute most enjoyable part of all of this. I would say the most frustrating part of it is probably the fear that comes with being vulnerable enough to put words on a page and put them out there for the world to see. Not every review is great, and it's, not everyone's going to love your work, but some people are a little more harsh than others and seem to kind of forget that a person wrote the story that they read. But I think that, I think that's probably the hardest part. And then also, just for me personally, the frustrating part is that I can't fully mindfully commit to writing all the time because I have a full-time job and I'm in grad school and I'm a wife and I'm a friend and I'm a lot of things. And so while my story is always running around in my head, I don't always have the opportunity to be putting it down on paper. And so that sometimes trips me up as far as being able to kind of get back in my groove, know where I'm going, know what I'm doing. But yeah, I would say those are the frustrating and enjoyable parts of things. Then, someone asked about the Shake It Off parody video. If you haven't seen it, go check out my YouTube channel. I did a little spoof video of Shake It Off. It was actually born of a Facebook fan posted on my page and said, hey, like, you should do this. And I said, why not? So I did. And the fan who asked this question wanted to know what was the process like, how many takes, how long did it take, what did I like, not like about it. It actually was a lot easier than you might imagine. Well, first of all, let me tell you about how I'm kind of type A crazy. And so once I had the idea, I actually went through and printed off the lyric sheet. I broke it into chunks and into scenes. I mapped out the outfits. I mapped out what I wanted to happen in each scene. So it was a very methodical process. So I was able to say, okay, my husband helped me do it, and we filmed it with my iPad. And so I said, this night we need to do night scenes, and we're going to do these 3, and then this night we're going to do this, and we have to do these during the day. And so I had it all plotted out, and we really filmed it over the course of about 8 days, in really just 3 sessions. And each session was less than an hour. They were about 30 to 45 minutes. Since I had it kind of down pat, it worked out really well. I played the music from my phone and then sang along. And then when I went in to actually edit it, I pulled out my audio and overlaid Taylor Swift to make sure that I was singing along with the beat. The hardest part of the whole process was really just the editing, because it was smart of me to do it in segments. That made it really easy. I didn't have to do a lot of editing, but because I wanted to intersperse some fan shots and some different things, that made it a little trickier to line up the audio. But I used iMovie and I did it all on my Mac, and it was really simple and really fun, and it made me realize that I really like doing videos. Last question is it hard to be all of the people that I need to be? And the person listed out, author, friend, the real me, the online me, the author me. Is it hard to balance all of those things? The good news for you guys is I'm just me. I have a very authentic personality, and I have a complete inability to be anything except me. So who you talk to online, the person who answers your emails and your messages, the person you're getting right now in the video, like, that's the same person that into downtown Des Moines and goes to my job every day, and it's the same person who walks into my grad school class at night and the same person who argues with my husband. So all of those people are the same, and so that makes it easier for me to be continuous across the spectrum and feel like I'm giving you guys a real and authentic experience of knowing me. But from a logistical and practical standpoint, it is sometimes a little exhausting to be all of the me's, but I think that comes from more of the keeping up with social media than it does anywhere else. I'm trying to reach you guys in all the places that you are and still be authentic in all those places and make sure that I'm not bashing you over the head with buy my book messages. I want us to have a lot of fun together. So that's why I do things like this, and I encourage you guys to always ask me questions and come hang out with me and be real with me, and I'll be real with you, and we'll kind of continue to hang out and have a lot of fun. So that is it for the inaugural session of Ask the Author. And I hope you guys got some fun stuff out of this, and go down and comment and ask me more, chat more, respond. I do these all in one take because I'm kind of better off the cuff, so if at any point I was randomly rambling, I apologize, but that's kind of me too. So anyway, talk to you soon.